to do something new. I'm going to be reading something on my computer for Christmas. I'm going to be reading 2 stories for you. First one is one of my personal favorites, although I prefer the movie with Jim Carrey. Second one is one I'd suggest I read to you at night. Let's start with the first one on this Christmas Eve. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville, they like Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. Now the Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head was not screwed on just right. Could be perhaps his shoes were too tight, but I think the most likely reason of all may have been his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas hating the Who's, staring down at it from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown, the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was now busy hanging mistletoe and wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the little Who girls and boys would wake up bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise. And then the Who would sit down to join in a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which something the Grinch could not stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing, and they'd stand hand in hand with the Who's. They'd start singing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of the whole Who Christmas thing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it. Now I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? And then the Grinch got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus coat. And he cackled and chuckled. What a Grinchy trick. With this hat and this coat, I look just like St. Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since he didn't have reindeer, he called his dog Max and said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. And he tied a big horn on top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and an old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. The Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay snooze in their hometown. All their windows were dark, quiet snow-filled air. All the Who's were dreaming, sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number one. The old Grinchy Claus hissed and climbed to the roof, empty bags at his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, rather tight pitch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck for only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first to go. He slithered and slunk with a smile unpleasant. Around the whole room he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycle, popcorns, and plums. And then he stuffed them in bags, and the Grinch very nimbly, bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly scuffled all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he sunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beef. He cleaned out the icebox as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. And then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I'll snuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree. He started to shove when he heard a small coo of that sounded. Then he heard a small sound, like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd gotten out of bed for a cold cup of water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking the Christmas tree? Why? But you know that old Grinch was too smart, so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my dear sweet child, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this Christmas tree that won't light up on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child that he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went back to the chimney and snuffed the tree up. And the last thing he took was the log from their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. On their wall he left nothing but some hooks and some wires, and a speck of food that he lived in. The house was just crumb. That was even too small for a mouse. And he did the same thing to other Who houses, leaving crumbs too small for the other Who mouses. It was quiet. It was 15:15. All the Who's were still in bed. All the Who's were still a snooze. He packed up his sled. Packed up with all their presents, the ribbons, the wrappings and tags, the tinsels and the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up that slide of Mount Crumpet, he rode his whole load to the tip top to dump it. Pooh, pooh, pooh. Pooh, pooh to the Who's. He was grinchy-ishly humming. Finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're waking up. Oh, I know what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will cry, boo-hoo. That noise, Grinch grinned. That I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he still did not hear the sound over the rising snow. It started low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound was merry. Couldn't be, but it was merry. Very merry. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Why, every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinchy feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. Then the Grinch thought something he hadn't thought before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas comes from perhaps a little bit more. And what happened next then? Well, in Whoville, they say the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel so quite tight, he whizzed his load through the bright morning light. He brought back the toys and the food and the feast, and he even himself. That Grinch got to carve the roast beast. That was how the Grinch stole Christmas. You know, I'm sorry I didn't read that well. I kind of suck at reading, but I was reading on my computer, so I hope y'all liked that. I am not going to be sure if I should I'm going to do this again tonight. This video is uploading in the morning because, I don't know, I feel like it. But I'm going to upload one for tonight. That is, 'twas the night before Christmas. And, yeah. Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed this. And Happy Christmas Eve.